Hi folks, Dr. P here, and I'm going to talk briefly about hand-holding in games. Hand-holding for the players, helping the players along by the nature of the design itself in contemporary game design. Traditionally, in games, you let the players make the decisions, and their decisions determine who succeeds and who doesn't. That's what games are about, or what they used to be about. But in today's culture, games are seen as just another, usually visual, form of passive entertainment that players can experience more or less the way they experience movies, books, and plays. The difference being that the players do some activities, but the question is, do those activities make a difference in the outcome? Are the players responsible for doing something better than other players might do? Among other notions, there's the idea in RPGs that every player should have their chance to shine, and that it's the game master's job to make sure everyone has a good time. Now, this is especially the case in video games. It is, after all, the age of comfort. Young people are taught that they should never be uncomfortable. Advertisements tell us, don't go around hungry. After all, that's uncomfortable. Medicine ads often convince people that any health problem can be solved with the right pill. It's easy. Fear of needles, for example, for blood donation is common because it hurts. Well, those kinds of attitudes get into games, and a key here is frustration. The line between tension and frustration is blurry. Tension is desirable in games, frustration not so much. How do you deal with those who are frustrated rather than enjoying tension? You can't please everyone. To avoid all frustration, you have to remove all tension. So you either manage it or you avoid it. And the traditional thing is to manage it. In video games, avoiding frustration is more common, and hand-holding is one of the results. For example, there's a design advice for creators of video game levels, never to let a player not know what to do next. Don't let the player be confused or frustrated by not knowing what to do next. Now, this comes to rewards versus consequences and attitude. Traditional play of hobby games, and not party or family, expects players to earn what they receive. Their play has consequences. Now, in party and family games, that was somewhat different. You were rewarded for participation to a considerable extent. The contemporary view now is often that players should be rewarded for participation even in hobby games. Again, it's like passive entertainment. They are rewarded, not required to earn what they get. And a consequence of this is that games try to help players succeed rather than challenging them. No negative experience is allowed. Some people object to the notion of rewards versus consequences, but you could say no negative experiences versus consequences for what you do. Again, this is especially obvious in video games where you don't let the players lose track of what's going on, where they must go, what they must do. The contemporary attitudes towards secret doors in RPGs are that they are unfair or a dirty GM trick because players might miss out on them and so forth. They feel that they should be led to where they need to go, not have to figure out how to get somewhere. You also see a transparency of strategies in games. Most Euro-style board games and card games are designed to be played 1 to 3 times because that's what players actually do. So how to play well must be clear after one play so that the players can figure out and get their exploration of the game and move on to the next one. You can't have a deep game that players must slowly figure out through several plays because that might frustrate people. Hand-holding can be big in RPGs that are storytelling exercises. That is, where the game master tells or imposes a story on the players. The storyteller must control the story. So he or she must help the players whenever they stray from the storyline. And the players have plot armor, as it's called. That is, they are necessary for later in the story. They have a role to play, so they can't be killed. Hand-holding may be common in puzzles that masquerade as games, and that can include games for any number of players from 1 to several. Hand-holding the players is a natural result of video and tabletop games that are treated as passive rather than active entertainment. As a game designer, you have to decide whether to play along with that or to continue to make more traditional games and have a relatively small audience. Thanks for listening.